is going on, everyone? This is the Fantasy Aces podcast. I'm your host, Joe Belacqua. With me, we got Nathan Holleran and Sonny Chowdhury. We got a big day for you today. There's a lot of free agency news going around with franchise tags, but we're also going to get into our 2021 sleepers and 2021 busts, and also we have to finish off our position rankings, and we'll finish it off with tight ends. But before we get to that, how did you guys watch the NBA All-Star event? Any of it? Curry was lights out in the three-point contest, and then in the All-Star game. I mean, they really didn't have to do the All-Star game, but I thought it was pretty cool, just watching Curry go add in the three-point
Hey, what
contest.
about Dame time, though? We got to talk about my boy Dame with the game winner.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
mean, you got the two best shooters in the league on the same team. I mean, it's over. So that was fun to see.
I think LeBron picked a better team than Durant, to be completely honest with you.
He's a general manager. We know what he's going to do after he retires.
Oh, for sure.
Brain. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, but no, that was great to see out of it. But now it's time to talk some news around the league. A lot went down. A lot went down today, actually, too. But first of all, the Texans are willing to sit Deshaun Watson out for the 2021 season. So it's not looking too good in Houston right now. And then there's talks that Zach Ertz will probably be traded. We just don't know when, but it is coming soon. And the Cowboys make a long-term deal with Dak. So congrats, Dak. After getting injured, there's some bright, clear news right there for him. And the Bucs franchise tag Godwin, which I really didn't want to happen, and Allen Robinson also gets franchise tagged, but there's no franchise tag for Hunter Henry, Kenny Golladay, or Chris Carson. And Jonnu Smith is a free agent. And Aaron Jones is also a free agent, so that's some big draft capital right now for A.J. Dillon. But Jonnu Smith, if you want to come to Atlanta, that's a perfect spot for you. Follow your head coach. I think that's a good move if you wanted to do that. But getting into the first topic today, we're going to be going over our 2021 sleepers, players that, we think will significantly do better than the year before. Just looking at their ADP, they're just, not ranked where they should be. So we're going to start off with Nate first. Who is your first sleeper for the 2021 season?
Oh man, I mean, I got a few, but I'm probably gonna go with, and since they don't really have anybody else, Taylor Heinicke for me personally.
That is a good
one.
Like
this guy. Yeah, I like this guy, and I know we were like, he only played really one game. The dude was like lights out an entire game, and it was beat the Super Bowl champs. Let's not forget it. So I was really excited to be able to pick Taylor Heinicke because I knew, in the back of my head, why would I be excited about this guy? But when I saw him play, I mean, he was playing so well. And since, Alex Smith is no longer with the team and he just signed, a 2-year deal. So, why not get excited about it? So that is definitely one of mine.
Yeah, he's a risky quarterback. When I was watching him play, he'll just chuck up the ball every opportunity that he gets. But this guy, he fights for that extra yard. He'll try to get that touchdown.
Oh, yeah, he can move it too.
Yeah,
he's not scared of getting hit.
And he's working really hard right now in the offseason, so I think he expects to have a fighting chance to be the Washington football team quarterback. And, right now the big star on Chase Young wants him to be his quarterback for this team. So, that kind of says something in the locker room.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But, for fantasy purposes, we'll see how well he does. But, he could definitely be a good, bench quarterback to have, later in the season. Who knows what's going to happen. But fantasy purposes, we just really haven't seen a lot yet. But I'm excited, as we progress into the 2021 season.
Exactly. And that's why it's exciting. To my next one, I had one more. I had another quarterback that I needed to throw in there.
Yeah.
And mine was Jameis Winston. I know some people
love it.
I don't know, but we do know because, Drew Brees is leaving his fans pretty much in the dark. We don't know what he's going to do. He says he retires, but then we have a workout video of him, going crazy and throwing the football and going to the gym. I'm like, leave it to Jameis Winston. I mean, don't forget in 2019 he had over 5,000 passing yards. Really bad in interceptions. Really bad. But fantasy points wise, that was great for your team back
30
then.
touchdowns? I mean, for sure.
It's safe.
He's not the best game-winning quarterback, but fantasy quarterback, he's amazing. He's absolutely.
Oh, exactly. A fantasy quarterback, he may not get you to the Super Bowl for your team, but he's one of those fantasy quarterbacks that's like, wait a second, I'm going to take him.
Yeah.
no one taken yet. So if you need one, I mean, like
Yeah.
go for him immediately because if he gets that starting job, he should be fantasy points galore.
Yeah.
So
The thing I
and
do like
then
about Winston is he takes whatever open receiver there is. I don't think there's any like favoritism or bias that he has towards who's his guy. He's just like, he's open. It may be risky. That's where the interceptions come in, but I like Winston, and that's a good sleeper.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna go with another one. He's not another quarterback, but I'm gonna go with another player, which is Laviska Shenault.
Oh,
I like
yeah,
Shenault. I like Shenault a
love
lot.
it.
I think when he gets Trevor Lawrence, I think it makes him a better player in general. He's a new head coach. They already know he's one of the favorites on the team in general. Recorded 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, and with the QB controversy in Jacksonville, it's kind of like uneven, unfair for him. But with Trevor Lawrence most likely getting selected at number one, I mean, I would not expect anything differently. So Chenault to definitely get it. And then my last guy is DeAndre Swift. I think he'll be a huge sleeper. I don't think he's going to be like a crazy lights out sleeper, but I think he's definitely one of those running backs to pay attention to because Jared Goff should rely heavily on Swift for those checkdowns. So, I mean, we'll see with Swift, but those are my top three. It's definitely Heineke, Chenault, and Winston.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm going back to Chenault. He's actually one of my top three.
Yep.
He's sitting around wide receiver 47 right now in like ADP ranking. I can definitely see this guy being a top 30 wide receiver. His value
Yeah.
right now is just underestimated, but it's good. Let him stay there because to
Yeah.
the people listening to this right now, you can take him later in the draft and get a lot of value for this guy. Let him go unnoticed. Let him stay at wide receiver 47 because I'm telling you, the opportunity is there. This guy also can really run, vertically down the field very fast. So I think he has really good value. And then talk about dynasty value, very high
Yeah.
value right now because he's got a bright future set up for him. So
Yeah,
that's a
I'm just
whole
touching
different thing.
up. Yeah, touching up on that. I also had him in my top
Yeah.
three, but like the thing that you said about him being at 47, his teammate DJ Chark is at 29. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think that's where I like come in because I don't think it's right. We don't know who the wide receiver one is. I personally like Chenault better because I think he's more versatile. So just the fact that DJ Chark is getting all this hype, presumably with Trevor Lawrence, and you also got to remember that Urban Meyer, he's had gadget guys like Chenault that can do stuff in the run game and pass game, like his time at Florida. He had Percy Harvin. Then you go to Ohio State, he had Curtis Samuel. So he knows how to use these guys. And again, for a quarterback, use those manufactured touches to your advantage. So, I mean, I guess we're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And then Nate with DeAndre Swift, I mean, he's just got the target share and the target volume, right? Staring right at him. That team doesn't have, they didn't franchise tag Galladay. Who knows what's going to happen? Marvin Jones, like, DeAndre Swift, TJ Hawkinson might be the move. All right, Sonny, why don't you list your other 2021 sleepers?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to go with the obvious ones, but second-year wide receivers, you really want to heavily target them because that's typically when they start breaking out. And I'm not gonna say the guys like Claypool or Ayuk or Higgins, but first off, Michael Pittman. I mean, he showed flashes last year. Right now, he's the only show in town. I expect him to add someone, but I still think he's super talented and he'll still be very productive. I mean, we've seen Carson Wentz favor these big body receivers. We saw Fulgham taking advantage. We saw Alshon Jeffrey during his season. So, he likes those big body guys, and that's what Pittman is. So I think he's perfect in Reich's system. And I mean, someone else, Gabriel Davis. I mean, I expect them to cut John Brown to save some cap room. And when he was on the field, he's just productive. Josh Allen's phenomenal. The whole offense phenomenal. They don't have a run game. So again, a lot of passing. He could be that number 2 option to Stephon Diggs. And again, I mean, in the playoffs, against the Colts, again, he shows you what he's got, and I think he's going to have a lot more playing time. And then some other low-key guys. I actually am all bought in on the Chargers offense. So, I mean, we know Keenan Allen's great. And Justin Herbert, I mean, I'm actually really leaning towards Mike Williams, the sleeper. I think the dude is super talented. Justin Herbert's got a cannon. Mike Williams is a great, deep ball, go up and get it kind of guy. And then Hunter Henry presumably moving on. That opens a lot more end zone targets. I think Mike Williams, he could be a boom bust option, but someone that I would love in a flex spot or as my third receiver, just, very boom or bust type of guy. And then a few more guys I want to touch up on. Going back to your thing with Jameis Winston, It's Adam Troutman. I mean, they just released Jared Cook and Josh Hill. Adam Troutman is someone they basically went up in the draft to acquire. So he's the only tight end. We saw Winston supporting Cameron Brate and OJ Howard in his time with the Buccaneers. So he could be kind of sneaky. And then the last guy I want to talk about, it's not a sexy name, but it's Jamal Williams of the Green Bay Packers. I know, it sounds like a joke, but hear me out. Okay, so I mean, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams were both pass catching back. I mean, look at Jamal Williams and do it all kind of back. He's good in the pass game. He can pass block, and he's a good runner. I think the one weakness AJ Dillon has in his game is his pass catching ability. I don't expect the Packers to, always be leading. I think they're going to be trailing more than they were last year. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity where they both can be fantasy viable. And I mean, we've seen teams like with Chubb and Hunt. So I think Jamal Williams is a good guy late. Maybe your last pick, take a shot on someone that can be viable, especially if you go the 0 running back route.
Yeah. Going back to Gabriel Davis, I really love him and I think he's going to be a great sleeper. But I have never seen a guy that's so young and have such a good football IQ. Like the guy knew exactly where he was every time he runs a route that he got back-to-back great, catches trying to stay in
sideline grabs. Yeah.
That takes skill. That takes lots of skill. And this guy's so young that he has the opportunity, to be really very consistent, possibly, fantasy wide receiver. So that's a great sleeper, and people really should not, look past that guy. He can have some great value later in the season. So Nate took my, first one, Laviska Shenault. So I'm going to go to my other two guys. Courtland Sutton. People forget about this guy, but he missed the entire season. But and this will also help Jerry Jeudy because I think he needs a complimentary wide receiver next to him to help his fantasy value. But I do think Courtland Sutton is just a bigger guy, a little bit more impressive because we saw what he can do. He had 72 receptions for 124 targets, over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he's only been in the league for, I'm not going to count the previous season, so only like 2 seasons. So this guy is, very talented. I can see him having a bounce back. And, when people are drafting, they're going to forget his name because he wasn't there last season. So that's a good guy to have. And then I'm going towards the Cardinals, and I know he's going to be a free agent, and I really hope that they add him back, is Dan Arnold. All right. Dan Arnold had 45 targets, 31 receptions, 440 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Not that much production, but also he didn't have that much share volume and snap share, only like 30% of plays. But he ranked 3rd on the team in receiving yards and touchdowns. So, and he also led the league for tight ends in yards per carry at 14.1. So the guy can really get downfield. He has the potential to be very athletic, and he just wasn't given enough share volume. And if the Cardinals keep him, I really think he could be a great addition. He beat out all the other tight ends to be the number 1 guy, and the Cardinals really liked having him. So I think Dan Arnold is a good sleeper tight end. I was very impressed with him, so I really hope he does well this year.
That makes one of us. As a Cardinals fan, that makes one of us.
You don't want him?
I mean, I just don't have high hopes for him, honestly. I think I've seen enough. I think he just, I don't know. Just he can make some highlight plays, but that's about all I can say.
All right.
I hope I'm wrong. I like the call. That's pretty bold. So I like it.
It is bold. I mean, I wanted to pick a tight end that, when I saw that he led the league in yards per carry for a tight end, that's pretty good, So I know he didn't have that many targets, but he was only in the plays for like 30% of the shares. So I just want more volume from him, and we'll see what he can do. But getting into our next topic, it is tight end rankings, and we're going to give it to Sonny first.
Yep. So, again, I mean, the top guys, I'm not even going to go much into detail. We got Travis Kelce. Don't need to say much. George Kittle, I still put above Darren Waller because I think he is phenomenal. And then, again, the next guy is Darren Waller. Then Mark Andrews. I know it's kind of disappointing last year, but I assume that the offense will be upgraded this year. Then we got T.J. Hawkinson at 5. Again, I know there's no Matthew Stafford, but I mean, again, we saw they didn't tag Kenny Galladay, so who do you even have at this point? I think he's going to see an insane target share, and he's a good big body guy in the end zone. Dallas Goedert, similar to him. I mean, there's not many guys left. I expect Zach Ertz to be gone. I am a little concerned about Jalen Hurts, but we know that Sirianni used tight ends. I mean, the Eagles have just been using tight ends. I think he's the best overall best receiver on the team as of now. So talent, no question. We'll see what Hurts can do. And then where I get bold is at 7, I actually have Irv Smith Jr. So, I mean, I want to call my shot on him right now because I think his upside and his ceiling could be insane. We saw Kyle Rudolph is gone. I expect Minnesota's defense to still be bad, which means a lot more passing for the Vikings offense. And we saw him take advantage of his role. So I see him just taking a major leap. It's his 3rd year, and I just see a breakout season coming for him. And then next we got Logan Thomas. Again, all they have is Terry McLaurin, and that's about it. So he should see plenty of volume like he did at the end of the season. Robert Tonyan is the next guy. I honestly was tempted to move him down, and I'll talk about him later. He was just so efficient, and I don't know if he can continue, but he did show that he had a connection with Aaron Rodgers. When you're tied to a great quarterback, I think he deserves to be in the top 12. And then the next 3, I mean, it was kind of tricky. I have Evan Engram on there just because I do love the talent. I know he struggles with the drops, but I mean, they also released Golden Tate, so he should see more targets. And he's just a freak athlete. So, hopefully he can get his hands better. At 11, we got Mike Gesicki. I mean, even with Tua and Fitz, he showed that he can do it with both of them. So I think him and Tua will hopefully build a better connection in the offseason. And he's also an amazing athlete. And then lastly, Noah Fant. I mean, his biggest concern was injury, but when he was on the field, he was producing. I do want to move him up higher, but this was probably the toughest out of all the positional rankings to do. So those are my top 12. It's not perfect. It'll probably change, but as of right now, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, those are pretty good rankings. Nate, why don't you give it away with your rankings?
Sure. I mean, mine ain't nothing too crazy, but all right. So we're going to start out with number 1, Travis Kelce. Again, nothing much to be said there. Great tight end. George Kittle, same thing. I know he was a little married to the with an injury last year, but it doesn't take him short of anything lower than the number 1 or 2 spot. The dude plays phenomenal. I got actually T.J. Hockenson at number 3. I think, losing Stafford was, in my eyes, and like Sonny said, it definitely can be a big deal. But you still got Jared Goff, so you're not going from Stafford to Mike Glennon. You still got Jared Goff. Nothing against Mike Glennon, sorry. But then at number 4, I put Darren Waller. I think he finished with 107 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns across 16 games. And he's been playing great, and I think he'll continue to play great. So I think he'll definitely fight between the 1 and 3 position all season. I don't see anything short of it. Mark Andrews, I know there's some concern with him either staying on the Ravens, maybe leaving the Ravens, going to somewhere else. But no matter where he goes, I think he'll definitely still be that top 5 tight end in my eyes. I really do. He plays with grit. He can definitely hold on to the football. He's just a really good tight end at number 5. So in number 6, I got Noah Fant. Second season ends with 62 receptions. Sonny said, over 600 yards and 3 scores in 15 games. And again, the injury happened. It happens, but he produced. And Sonny was right. He produces when he gets a chance to play. So definitely him at number 6. Number 7, I got my own Philadelphia Eagle, Dallas Goedert. I want to see how he does with Jalen Hurts, because this is going to be interesting how they set him up. But like you said, Nick Sirianni, he likes his tight ends, and I'm sure that he'll like Dallas Goedert, who is probably ready to play for that number 1 position at tight end when Hurts is, according, ready to leave, because there is trade rumors going around involving his name. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Mike Gesicki, the dude finished with 1,000 yards, or 703 yards. My apologies. That's his career total. 703 yards. With Tua, you got a lot of things going on there with quarterbacks. Some people say keep Tua, leave Tua, stick with him. I say keep him. I think Mike Gesicki's going to do really great in Miami, so I can't see anything else happening but that. Hunter Henry, I have at number 9. He had only 613 yards and 4 touchdowns, but the dude's also coming back from a few injuries throughout his career that were pretty severe. I think he's only going to get better from here. Him, and Herbert, but apparently, he's a free agent now, because He didn't get signed, nor did they franchise tag him. So we'll see where he goes. He could resign. I mean, they could be waiting, or he could go somewhere else, which is most likely to happen. But wherever he goes, I'm sure of him being a top 10 tight end. Then I have Robert Tunyon. I got Robert Tunyon at number 10 because listen, it's not too shabby. He finished his breakout campaign with 668 yards. He has 12 touchdowns in the season. And, for a 2017 undrafted free agent, he has Aaron Rodgers still in the back, who still has a couple years under his belt, in my opinion. So, he could possibly be, if his numbers keep going the way they are, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets to that top 5 position. I really won't. He has the potential to be a top 5 tight end. So number 11, I got Jonnu Smith. I was really torn. A lot of these tight ends, I was super torn with. Jonnu Smith or Hunter Henry and Robert Tunyon and then even Mark Andrews. I was like, I don't know if that's too high or too low for him. So I got Jonnu Smith. 448 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. A lot of things are going on, with him. But I think he'll get back to his groove because he's very talented. We know that, and I know Joe wants him to come to the Falcons, so we'll see what happens. Moving on to number 12, I got Tyler Higbee. I think he'll do really good with Matthew Stafford. I really do. I think this guy is going to improve a lot. I know some are like, he was all right because he was doing really fairly well in the beginning of the season. But Tyler Higbee had to be my number 12. Again, this was really hard to do. So I don't know. I may be wrong, maybe right. I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to wait.
I love the Higbee thing. I actually was trying to get him into my top 12. I almost talked about him in sleepers. So I'm really glad that one of us got him in the top 12. Because again, if you didn't mention him, I would have brought him up. I love it. He just missed out on the cup, but I'm glad one of us does. Because again, I mean, we saw them feature the tight end, and now no Gerald Everett. We've seen Stafford with TJ Hawkinson. So again, great call, and I think he can be a sneaky option.
Yeah, I probably would have like Tyler Higbee at like 13 for myself.
Yep.
But did either one of you guys say Logan Thomas?
Yeah, I had him at 8.
Okay.
I did not. I didn't even have him in the thing.
Okay, I'm very high on Logan Thomas. Mine's a little bit different than your guys after 5. But I have 1, Travis Kelce. I mean, undeniable what he did. I mean, he's right there with the wide receivers when it comes to fantasy points, and that, doesn't really happen when it comes to a tight end. 2, I have Darren Waller. That was just exceptional seeing him score a 50-point fantasy game. I really want that to happen again this year. And then I have at 3, George Kittle. Hopefully he's healthy coming back from the injury. I want to see him progress, a little bit better. And 4, I have TJ Hawkinson. This guy was just a target machine. 5, I have Mark Andrews. We know he has red zone capabilities. If he stays on the Ravens, I still think he'll get that. And at 6, I have Logan Thomas. This guy is very athletic. And if Heineke is the quarterback, it's going to be a situation where it might be like Jameis Winston, and a wide receiver. So I think there's just going to be a lot of volume. I don't know if Washington is going to have that good of a team, but when it comes to fantasy, it doesn't really matter as long as you got a high octane offense. That's a lot of fantasy points. And Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin, those are the guys on Washington. And at 7, I got Robert Tunyon, the touchdown machine. You got Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball, and they have such a great connection from the previous year that I can see a lot of consistent red zone opportunities with this guy. And since Kyle Rudolph has retired, I am bumping Irv Smith Jr. to number 8. I want some excitement. I think this guy could take a big jump. He's very athletic, very mobile, and I really want to see what he can do now that he has a starting role. If Jonnu Smith is not on the Falcons, so this is going to change. So if Jonnu Smith does go on the Falcons, he will be in the number 9 spot. If he doesn't, I don't have him in my top 12 because I have no idea where he's going, and I don't see a place I can fit him in yet to rank him. But he would be number 9. But if not, I'm going to put Hayden Hurst, because if Arthur Smith can do what he did with Jonnu Smith, Hayden Hurst has the same capabilities to perform that. He's a very good tight end that sadly, we just had Dan Quinn trying to run the plays, and Dirk Cutter, which was an awful idea. So as long as we get a good guy in there, I think Hayden Hurst can, do better. 10, I have Dallas Goedert. I think people really underestimate the capabilities he can do it, being a starting tight end, and we'll see what Jalen Hurst can offer. 11, I have Noah Fant, big physical. Once he's out there, he's a big touchdown and reception machine. And at 12, I have Zach Ertz. Don't know where he's going, but I do have more of a confidence, interval in him because we've seen what he has done, and no matter what team he's on, he's been pretty consistent when he's healthy. So that means I'm leaving Hunter Henry out. I got to see more. I haven't really seen much after his injuries. Mike Gesicki, love the guy, but Tua, I do not trust you right now, and the offense is kind of slacking. And until that picks up, then I'll have more trust to put him in my top 12. And like I said, Jonnu Smith, I don't know where you're going. But if you do come to Atlanta, I'll put you in the top 12 because I think that's a perfect fit for you. So those are my top 12 rankings.
Yeah, and hopefully we see Ertz back with Wentz and Reich reunited Indies. That'd be a perfect fit, and I'd be very interested in that.
That would be good. That's terrible for Trey Burton and Jack Doyle, though, because they have and Mo Alley-Cock. They have 3 good tight ends.
Yeah, but some of them are supposed to be free agents. I don't know if it's all of them or 2 of them. So there's an opening for sure.
They can't keep all of them. But that is it for tight end rankings. And now we are going to the 2021 bus of the season. We're going to give it to Sonny first. Why don't you list us your bus?
Yeah, so I'm going to pair these guys together, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Robert Tonyan. I mean, they were both just so efficient. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, again, the MVP, but I do not expect him to throw for 48 touchdowns again. I mean, he was injured in 2017, so with 16 touchdowns, whatever, throw it out the window. But then after that, it was 25 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns, then boom, it was 48 touchdowns. And again, Robert Tonyan accounted for 11 of those, I believe. And I think he was the only tight end who had, I think, 55 receptions and 0 drops. I mean, again, the efficiency was unreal. I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to throw that many touchdowns. And I think the offense will be struggling a lot more. So I want to rely more on like the high volume pass catchers, like the guys we mentioned of, Logan Thomas and all those guys. So I think they both just take a major step back. I mean, some guys that I would be taking above Aaron Rodgers would be, like Justin Herbert. I'd still be taking Russell Wilson above him. All those guys. So I think Aaron Rodgers, again, I don't expect him to repeat an MVP season, and Tonyan with it. And then the other guys I want to avoid are the high touchdown guys. I think touchdowns are very fraudulent and not something you can rely on every year. Except, I know I was throwing shade at the Green Bay offense, except for Devontae Adams. I think he will still be a touchdown machine. But other than that, I mean, Adam Thielen had 14 touchdowns. I don't expect him to be anywhere near that. Justin Jefferson, I mean, should lead the team in yards and receptions and targets. I mean, I think he's the alpha male on the offense, and he should see more touchdown opportunities. We just talked about Irv Smith taking a big step. He's a huge touchdown, target, a big body guy. So I don't think Adam Thielen's going to have the touchdown equity to return value like he did. And then similar to that is Mike Evans. He also had 13 touchdowns. I think Godwin, was in and out of the lineup. So hopefully he'll stay healthy. I think he'll see a lot more targets and more receptions. And again, he could be a threat in the end zone too. And then OJ Howard coming back from the torn Achilles. I just don't expect Mike Evans to see that many touchdowns. So those are the guys I'm avoiding. Basically, the guys that outperformed their touchdown equities.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that is a good point with Aaron Rodgers. He did have an exceptional season. I do think Robert Tonyan's touchdown ratio will go down, but I also do think he will get more receptions and yards, but he'll definitely have a little bit less of points, but I don't know. I have a good feeling about him, but Aaron Rodgers I definitely think he'll take a good step back. So that is definitely a good one.
And that's fair. And I also do, I mean, depending on how free agency and the draft shakes up, I mean, you got to imagine they're going to add some other wide receiver too, right? I mean, like, maybe not. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm expecting them. Who knows? Maybe Will Fuller. Who knows? But
Green Bay could be that team that takes like a full turn just from what happened to them. I really hope it doesn't end that way because they had missing offensive linemen. They're going to come back, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, no, those are definitely really good busts. Going to mine, the first guy that I started off with is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. People still have him like in the second round right now, and I just still think that's way too high of a value for this running back. I would rather have Austin Eckler, I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor, and I'd rather have Cam Akers over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I just think they're going to get way more target share and volume and receptions, and I just don't think the offense runs through him where you could probably say that it will run through Jonathan Taylor or Cam Akers. And then Austin Eckler, the passing game with running backs, it just runs through him. I can't say the same for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I just think there's too many other weapons, so I think he is a potential that be a bust. And then my second guy is Rob Gronkowski. I know people are going to probably be like, wow, he did really well in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. He's going to have a great year in fantasy coming up again. But you can't just use his playoffs as, an excuse for him being really high. And I just don't think he's going to have that consistency. And I don't really think he did that well in the regular season that much either. He kind of had games where you didn't even notice he was on the field. So that's not really something you want to see out of a fantasy player. And my third guy is David Johnson. He's running back 18 right now in ADP with Houston. I mean, end of the fourth round. I don't see how this, really correlates because statistically there's going to be like two rookie running backs that are going to finish better than him in fantasy. And I could probably list 16 other backs that I'd rather have than David Johnson. So in my opinion, I just don't think he's a good guy to have. He was very inconsistent. So those are going to be my three busts for the 2021 season. But going off to you, Nate, what are your three busts?
Oh yes, well I definitely have three. Aaron Rodgers was one of them. I love the guy, but I agree. I think he's going to take definitely a step back. I don't think he's going to produce the same numbers or even better. Maybe he will produce something close, but nothing better than what he already did. And maybe he's not going to be a bust, but he's definitely going to drop significantly. I can see it happening. Number two, I actually got Dak Prescott. Heading in there. I know some are like, well, give him a chance. He's gotten, over his ankle is literally backwards. Let's not forget his ankle was backwards. A very disturbing thing to see. And again, I'm glad for him. He got better and everything. But that Cowboys O-line, can't forget how many times he's gotten sacked. And even with a stacked lineup, you have to wonder how well they can really do. Dak Prescott, was, I think, before the injury, he had to be at least, like, for quarterbacks, top five or top three, somewhere along those lines for the numbers he produced. But what's been going on with Dallas, and for Dak, I'm taking a step back for a minute, and I'm gonna kind of reevaluate him and see how he does before I even say, he's back in that top three spot. But I think his numbers will drop. I don't think he's gonna be the same Dak. Though I wish him the best. And at number three, number three, I got Mr. Cooper Kupp. I think he's just gonna drop in general because, in my opinion, you're gonna have Matthew Stafford. Imagine if Kenny Galladay does, or the other receiver. Help me out, guys. What is it? Marvin Jones. Yes, thank you. If one of them, or maybe not even them, some other, free agent wide receiver goes to LA, it's a very real possibility that Cooper Kupp drops from where he was already at. So, I mean, it's a big leap. And then I had one more I want to sneak in. And he may not be a bust, but he's going to drop significantly. And it has to be for me. This is a Nate doing a Nate thing. It's going to be Russell Wilson. I said it.
I agree with it.
Look at that division. Just take a minute and look at that division.
Yeah.
As soon as Russell Wilson goes, guys, I'm not happy with this. I want some help. Cardinals are like, we have some help. Let's call in J.J. Watt. And Russell Wilson shaking his head like, well, what about me? What about me, Seattle? I need some help. So I think his number's going to drop significantly. I do. I just can't see him going crazy this year like he did last year, especially towards the end of the season where they started to slow down and they're losing to the Rams. I mean,
yeah,
we'll see what happens, but I can't expect anything crazy from Russell Wilson and the Seahawks because of the amount of things that they need, not what they want, but what they need to compete in that probably if not the toughest division in the league.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with that. I think Seattle's offense towards the last stretch of the regular season was pretty bad. So now we'll have to see what offensive line weapons they have, but Russell Wilson can definitely take a turn down, especially if he doesn't get offensive lineman, because it's really not his fault. It's just no one's protecting him. And then you got Aaron Donald, J.J. Watt, and it's going to be very difficult for him to, avoid any of those. And, sacks leads to less fantasy points. So
Right.
I would have to agree with that. So looking through the rankings, how do you guys feel about Michael Thomas right now sitting at about wide receiver 5? How do you feel about that? Do you think that's a little overvalued or undervalued? I'll start with Sonny.
Yeah, I mean, if you told me the only way that I would probably have Michael Thomas in my top 5 is if Drew Brees were to come back. But other than that, it's not even a knock on him. It just Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. I got to see it first. And overall, just the talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, personally, right now at the top of my head, I can name Devontae Adams. We got Diggs, Ridley, Hopkins, Tyreek Hill. I mean, AJ Brown. All these guys I'm taking above him. So for me, he's not my top 5. I wouldn't blame anyone for having them in their top 5, but I mean, I just couldn't see it right now, just based off of last season, who the quarterback's going to be. I think there's too much uncertainty.
Yeah, you make a good point. Quarterback really determines that factor for me. So, Nate, how do you feel about that? Him being at wide receiver 5.
I mean, listen, I absolutely love Michael Thomas. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I think if Jameis Winston is guaranteed that starting spot, which I hope so for his sake, and for the Saints' sake, I think it's well deserving, especially with the injuries. I think he's getting pretty serious surgery done during this offseason.
Yeah, both ankles, I believe, too. So yeah,
right. So I mean,
a lot of pain.
Exactly. So it's a fair spot. I mean, he was ranked really high last year too. I think he was like almost number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Well, in that top spot, top 3. So he didn't drop far at all. Compared to a lot of people who you could argue that could be in, he's probably taken their position in number 5. So I think that's very fair for him. Again, I agree with Sonny though. If it was Drew Brees back at center, guaranteed, then I think that's more than fair for him to be. I think that's a normal position. But, again, Jameis Winston, or Taysom Hill, I think that's exactly, again, like a very fair position for him to be at.
Yeah, can I ask both of you guys a question? Okay, so one of my biggest dilemmas is I almost mentioned him, but I didn't want to go that bold, but DK Metcalf or Michael Thomas? Because I almost talked about DK Metcalf as a potential bust, but what do you guys think between those two?
Me personally, I'm going to go with DK.
I would go with DK too.
Right? Yeah. The dude just he is a Julio Jones. Gives me Megatron, younger Julio Jones with Megatron vibes. That's what he gives me.
I do want to say one thing though. I think Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson got all the heat for the second half slump, whatever. But DK Metcalf wasn't doing anything either. So I think that whole offense was
the
falling
whole
apart.
team was falling
exactly. And I mean, again, we talked about Pete Carroll wanting to go to that run-heavy offense. And what if they do add another pass catcher in there? So it would not surprise me if DK Metcalf would bust. I mean, I don't think he was because of his talent. I mean, the dude, you just look at him and I mean, how do you stop that, man? But I still am concerned. You still got Jalen Ramsey twice a year. I mean, I'm just saying he is someone that I worry about.
Well, right now he's at wide receiver 7 and Michael Thomas at wide receiver 5. And I'm telling you right now, I'd rather have A.J. Brown at wide receiver 9. I'd rather have Keenan Allen at wide receiver 10. And I'd rather have Justin Jefferson at wide receiver 11 right now.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, DK Michael Thomas would probably be back-to-back for me. I mean, maybe 9, 10-ish, somewhere around that range. So I agree with all those guys. I'm taking them above them too.
And then another guy that I see looking right now is we have DeAndre Swift at running back 11. This is a PPR league, by the way. How do you like his value? Right there, running back 11. All right. So we've seen other rookies kind of produce a little bit more than him. Jonathan Taylor, Cam Akers, and probably J.K. Dobbins. We saw a little bit more of J.K. Dobbins than DeAndre. Do you like him at running back 11 just for the opportunity, or do you think we haven't seen that much of him where he shouldn't be at running back 11? We'll start with Nate this time.
And what was his name again? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift. Okay. At running back number 11.
Running back number 11.
I mean, I agree. We haven't seen a ton of film on him. I think he's going to be a great running back for Detroit. I mean, there's no question about it. But I think that's fair enough also because now you have the two receivers that are gone, and they're going to be looking at him for most of the carries and touches and looks and passes. So in a PPR league, I think that's pretty fair for him.
Yeah.
They're looking at Marvin Jones moving. They're looking at Kenny Galladay moving. They're looking at DeAndre Swift now probably with. Well, guarantee, actually with Jared Goff and in the backfield. So I think number 11 spot is the perfect position for DeAndre. Anything higher, probably not. I would say probably 11 and anything below to a certain extent.
I guess they're really expecting a lot of, potential in him in a PPR league because Cam Akers is ranked so much lower than he is. He's running back 17 and DeAndre Swift is running back 11. I don't know how much I believe of that because we saw Cam Akers in the playoffs just completely wow us. And DeAndre Swift, it's been a couple games, but, this is a changing offense. So you make a good point, Nate. Sonny, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put him in your top 12, as long as it's near the bottom around that 11, 12-ish, I mean, I'm fine with that. He's not in my top 12, and I talked about that last time. I mean, guys that I'd have above him, Cam Akers for sure I would put above him. But also, Aaron Jones, no matter where he goes, he'll be in my top 12. And the two guys that's kind of close for me, Miles Sanders, I would also rank above him, but that's kind of interchangeable at that point. I mean, again, if you want to put him at 12, I'm completely fine with that. I just don't see a lot of scoring opportunities. But, they talked about playing him in the slot, which, that's really good for PPR. And we know he's an amazing receiving back. So, while I don't see a lot of scoring opportunities, I do see a lot of receptions. Maybe cancel it out. But, I have no problem with that. So, for me, that's out of my top 12. If you want to put him in there, that's fine.
All right. And that's pretty much all we have for you for this episode. But, Sonny, one thing I saw a rumor. Would you like Odell to be on the Cardinals?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My personal, before he got franchise tag, I was all aboard the Chris Godwin thing. I do want one other receiver, hopefully maybe in the draft, we'll see. But yeah, I am all in on Odell to the Cardinals. Sign me up.
Right now he's wide receiver 27 on Cleveland. I think that's a little too high for him if he's on Cleveland, but if he moves to another team like the Cardinals, I would rank him maybe even a little bit higher. So that is where we leave off this episode. Thank you for listening to us. Listen to us on Facebook, YouTube, and also follow us on Inside the Hashes. Check out our Insta and Twitter accounts at Inside Hashes. Also, check out our website where you can find our other podcasts, Air It Out and RPO. And we will see you guys next Tuesday at 7 p.m. NFL free agency is coming really soon. And stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.
See you.